Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander, the show where we make jokes about card art and the wild hairstyles of some of the characters, and today we're doing a deep lore dive on Geth. Geth has been an interesting side character since the 5th Dawn, which was all the way back in 2004. Some of you guys were just toddling around in diapers back then. Anyways, we're going to delve deep into the lore behind this guy, but first, hit that like and subscribe button, because that's how you support the channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you like what you see and want to support the channel directly, follow the link in the description to buy me a coffee. I'm a man, right? I'm convincing myself right now, but I'm also a being of almost pure caffeine. Thanks to Corb and Bouncing Beeble, recent supporters, you guys rip. So let's start at the beginning with what this guy actually is. Geth is a Moriok Lich. Now we all know what a Lich is, right? But what's a Moriok? Well, Moriok are mostly extinct now, but they were human dudes who lived in the Mephidros, which is a part of Mirrodin, and later the Dross Pits after the Phyrexians started taking over. This is a place where necrogen swamps make everyone into zombies and just generally disagreeable people. So Geth ruled the Moriok from his throne in the Vault of Whispers, and he had a pet vampire, right? Mephidros vampire. Anyway, Glissa ended up defeating the vampire with the help of one of Geth's little buddies over there, a guy named Yurt. Well, Geth was pretty upset about Yurt's betrayal and fed him to the vampire. Now Geth, he forgot that vampires make other vampires because he had never seen the Twilight movies. They weren't invented back then. He didn't realize that Yurt would become a vampire himself. So anyway, Yurt rose up and beheaded our buddy Geth. Now this is where Geth proved that he's a real bad mother jumper. He kept his head alive as a lich. I don't know how he did that, but imagine the will that took, the hatred, just rolling around waiting for somebody to come pick you up. Anyways, Glissa took his head and put it on a Memnite, and he was able to rock that new body. Boy, I'll tell you what, he just used that Memnite as a dang wheelchair. What a nutty fella. I think the first time I saw Geth represented on a card was on Promise of Power. So this is 2 black for a sorcery. Choose one. You draw 5 cards and lose 5 life, or create an XX black demon creature token with flying, where X is the number of cards in your hand, or you can entwine for 4. Here we see Geth depicted with his head intact on a body, but he has that wacky mohawk that he carries through to the current set. It's an iconic hairstyle filled with panache. Okay, now we get into it. Geth went back to the Mephidros to take back the streets. During this time, during the events of the Scars of Mirrodin, the Phyrexian takeover really began in earnest, and Geth, ever the opportunist, was offered an incredibly powerful Phyrexian arachnoid body, just a big repulsive thing with claws. Take a look at this art. Here we see Geth in his natural habitat. Geth, Lord of the Vault, 4 black for a legendary creature, Phyrexian zombie. It's a 5/5 with Intimidate. Has X and a black. Put target artifact or creature card with mana value X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control tapped. Then that player mills X cards. So this is a really nostalgic and magical card to me in my Magic journey. I packed one of these back in the day, and I used it in a mill commander deck. I've used it in a couple decks through the years. Though it's probably power crept out of the format right now, Geth remains a really interesting card. The big 5/5 body with Intimidate can really do some damage, and the ability to steal artifacts or creatures from an opponent's graveyard is an interesting build around. Unfortunately, this is a bit overcosted by today's standards. Well, with this new body at his disposal, as you can guess, he was able to take control of the Vault of Whispers and just be a general badass. After wresting control of the Nim, which were just zombies created by the necrogen mist, Geth just bided his time waiting for the Phyrexians to call on his marker, as he still owed them for the new body. Unlike the other Phyrexian Thanes, Geth preferred to enslave his subjects with magical contracts as opposed to violent domination. As such, he was kind of viewed as a puny human, and the other Thanes poked fun at him. So that brings us all the way to the present day of All Will Be Juanita. Geth gets a new card, Geth, Thane of Contracts. 1 black for a legendary creature, Phyrexian zombie. It's a 3/4. Other creatures you control get -1/-1. It has 1 black and tap it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains if this creature would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate only as a sorcery. It seems someone forgot to read the fine print. This is super flavorful. His domination of his subjects weakens them, and the ability to reanimate your creatures is pretty rad. I mean, this is a repeatable reanimator effect in the command zone. Love it. He's got similar look to the Scars of Mirrodin incarnation. He's still sporting his weird tuft of fur mohawk. He's just stabbing some poor sap with his foot. What a knucklehead. So during the events of All Will Be One, it's revealed that Geth was gathering up aspirants and rejects for rebellion, making magical contracts. He sided with Urabrask against Elish Norn. It was a bad idea. Suffice to say, old Geth backed the wrong horse, and he's going to get beheaded again. Spoiler alert. So, good old Phyrexia gets wind of all this nonsense going on and sends Ixhel to assassinate Geth. Ixhel's her daughter or something, I don't know. Geth, being the silver-tongued fox that he is, sows doubt in the scion of Phyrexia. Even so, she decapitates him again. Now listen, decapitate me once, shame on you. Decapitate me twice, well, you can't decapitate me again. But all is not lost for our buddy Geth. Ixhel was so impressed she takes his Phyrexian body and the body of some other guy named Balaxis and does a kind of a silly game of Lincoln Logs with the body parts and creates Vishkraz. Ixhel was so proud of herself, she's like, "Mom, look what I did." Phyrexia, however, was not impressed, and so commanded Ixhel to throw her new toy into the pits, where it learns and grows, retaining some of Geth's memory and personality. Directly, Geth gets another card, Vishkraz, the Doomhive. This is the result of all the nonsense that Ixhel was up to. 2 white, black, and a green for a legendary creature, Phyrexian insect. It's a 3/3. Has menace and toxic 1. When Vishkraz the Doomhive enters the battlefield, create 3 1/1 colorless Phyrexian might artifact creature tokens with toxic 1, and this creature can't block. Vishkraz gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. This is a really interesting commander from the new pre-constructed deck. This would make a decent commander for a budget infect toxic deck. I like this card a lot, despite its decided lack of a furry mohawk. Anyways, that's the story of Geth, at least so far. He's a really interesting character. He rises and falls with those he ties his fortunes to. It makes me want to build the old Geth, Lord of the Vault. Such a powerhouse card back in the day, very fun build around. The new incarnation is a repeatable reanimator in the command zone, and that's awesome too. That would make an awesome self-mill reanimator. Consistent reanimation is tough to make work in the commander format. If you don't draw both pieces, both your graveyard tutors and your reanimators, you're up a creek. But if you have one in the command zone, I mean, hey man, you can get your Blightsteel out turn 4 and force the table to answer it. I'm still a little partial to the old Geth. It's 6 mana but lends itself nicely to a functional mill reanimator deck where you're getting your opponent's best stuff for value. You can activate it multiple times per turn too, it doesn't tap. If your opponent has a Soul Ring or something, you can get that and then go grab something else. Both have zombie synergies, and zombies play really nice with the graveyard. Vishkraz seems fun if not a bit linear. The mites are artifacts, so you have some synergy there. It's getting +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. I mean, that's an extremely interesting static ability. It really pushes you into infect though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I wanted to take a minute and really thank everyone for their support. I love making these videos. It's a great stress reliever for me for my workaday job. I mean, listen man, I go through all kinds of nonsense. I mean, you're driving to work, you want to punch yourself right in the head. But this is fun for me. Snicky G from Better Commander signing off.